It's been a few days since the Switch 2 launched, and I'm here to tell you if you should get a Switch 2 right now. The Switch 2 is the very first system I've ever gotten at launch. I typically wait. I only got it at launch because I'm a content creator and it would only make sense business wise to get it as soon as possible to cover it and tell you guys my opinions on it and do reviews for it. So, should you get a Switch 2 right now? That depends. Obviously, if you're a content creator, that would, it's a business move. But let's say you're not. Most people aren't. They just normal gamers that want to know, is the Switch 2 worth buying right now? It's it's hard to explain. So let's get into some of the things I do like about the Switch 2. One, it is heavy. It feels like a premium product. It feels such like a premium product that I remember being excited for the Switch 1 and just, wanting it to be successful because as someone who stuck by the Wii U, it did not do well and I wanted the Switch to do well so Nintendo could continue in the gaming space. And it did, but I wouldn't say I thought the Switch 1 felt premium or felt like a quality product. It didn't feel bad. It just kind of worked. This feels like a high-end product. It made me feel as soon as I put it in my hands and I touched it and I heard those very loud and deep speakers, which I absolutely love. That's one of the best features of the Switch 2. I can't wait for YouTube to become available on Switch 2. It's not available yet, but once it becomes available, I can see myself using YouTube and playing music off my Switch 2 directly because it just has such amazing speakers. When I heard that music and all that stuff, I was like, wow, this feels like a premium product. As for someone who struggled playing the Switch 1 in the palm of my hands, unfortunately, I don't have a camera to show you guys playing it portably. So you guys will just have to enjoy the gameplay on the screen. I have bigger hands, and the Switch 1 just never felt comfortable in my hands. It did feel somewhat comfortable when I bought like certain peripherals, like certain grips and Hori Joy-Cons that had more of like a, grips to them, but just the regular default Joy-Cons, it did not feel comfortable. The Switch 2 is something about the weight and it just being bigger overall feels more comfortable in my hands. I always felt like with the Switch 1, my pinky was hanging off and then it would like make my pinky go to sleep after a while. Like now, like my full hand can grip the entire system. So for people with bigger hands, this might be better for you. For people with smaller hands, well, I don't know if it'll be an issue for you now, but I am enjoying it. And I'm actually going to play my Switch 2 more portably than I did before with the Switch 1, which I primarily use on the dock. Now let's get into the Joy-Cons themselves. They overall just feel like the Switch 1 Joy-Cons, but they are a little bit bigger. There is slight problems. There are already reports of Nintendo saying, particularly with the right Joy-Con, which is interesting because for me, it was the left Joy-Con of Switch 1. They are saying that they are willing to, for a certain period of time, just give out free repairs or replace them for free if you get Joy-Con drift because they literally have came out and admitted now that there is nothing different when it comes to the analog sticks when it comes to the Joy-Cons. Now, I think this is outright disrespectful, messed up, and this is why I keep trying to tell you guys. I know people love Nintendo, but Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, they're still businesses at the end of the day. Some businesses have better practices than others. Nintendo knows that by having, this is not just a Nintendo thing. I have a PS5. My PS5 I probably had for a year and a half now, or maybe it's going on 2 years now because I just got it not too long ago, or like a year or so ago. And my joysticks are slightly drifting. They're purposely making sticks worse. They're purposely making controllers worse. They're more expensive than ever before because they know most people are either going to, one, not have a warranty to get them replaced for free. Two, some people are not even going to feel like going through the process. And three, they're just going to go buy it. And that benefits Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft all the better. That people just go out and buy new controllers because, especially in Nintendo's case, they rarely put anything on sale. So at least with Sony, like right now, during every June when they do their state of play in the summertime, they put their controllers on sale. Like you get a PS5 controller now for like $50 or something like that, around 50 to $60 after tax. And that's at least more reasonable than paying the $70 to $80. But Nintendo for two Joy-Cons is $90. And the fact that they're already talking about drift is sad. Now, outside of that, I don't deal with drift yet. I don't have it. I just had it for 2 days. But the fact that people are already dealing with it is crazy. So that's something you might have to worry about. But as of now, is there any problem with the right Joy-Con? Yes. Now, this could be just my placement, how I naturally play games, or whatever the case may be. But for whatever reason, when I play with the Joy-Cons in the plastic grip, I wanted to make sure to play with that instead of with the Pro Controller, because people won't have a Pro Controller. They'll probably just have what comes with the system, which are the Joy-Cons. Playing with that is fine. But when I play with it in the plastic grip, when I'm playing certain games, like when I was playing Mario 3D World, I was accidentally touching the right trigger, making me do a ground pound. I don't know why. It almost feel, and it doesn't feel like I was pressing it all the way down. It's like a very light touch and it would just activate, which is weird because when I play Mario Kart and I want to drive, lightly touching the stick doesn't make me drive, or not drive, drift, because that's what the button is for Mario Kart. So I'm like, I wonder why it's doing that. I have no idea if that's like a issue with particular games or that controller is just sensitive. Who knows? Now, when it comes to playing it portably, this is something I ran into when I was playing platformers in particular. Anytime I want to press a button, my thumb was always touching the analog stick. And when you look, I'm gonna put up a picture on the screen. You're gonna look at the right Joy-Con from the Switch 1 and the right Joy-Con from the Switch 2. You notice anything different? The analog stick is way closer to the buttons on the Joy-Con 2 than they are on the Joy-Con 1. And that is causing me to touch the analog stick while also pressing buttons. Now, when you're playing a game like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and you're not using the right stick while also pressing the buttons, you sort of can like angle your finger in a weird way to get around it. But when I naturally play platformers, I don't put my fingers on the controller like that. So I will have to actually either readjust my hand unnaturally to play a game I normally play any other type of way, which is bad, or I just got to deal with touching the stick. Nintendo probably should redesign the right stick because it has a lot of room. It looks like it in real estate for it to go down. They can move the capture button and the home button and put them horizontally at the bottom instead of putting them vertically, so you can give the stick more room to breathe. But outside of that, playing portably was fine. It was way better than the Switch 1 experience. Now let's talk about the upscaling. This applies for both portably and playing on your TV. Again, don't have a camera, so I can't show you portable play. But when I was playing portably, some games like Bravely Default 2 looked horrible on Switch 1. Thanks to the upscaling alone, this game looks amazing on the Switch 1 playing portably. A game like Trials of Mana, that game ran horribly portably. It now runs at a smooth frame rate. Whether it's 60 or not, I can't tell, but I know it's a lot frame rate. Moving on to some games that I played on the TV. When I was playing Call of Juarez, that game is a fun, light shooter that, it's a couple missions, fun to pick up and play. Try it if you never tried it. But that game was supposed to be a lot 30 FPS. It was never locked. It ran slow. It would always dip, stutter. Now it runs buttery smooth. It's not 60 because the game is capped at 30. But if they send out an update, it should be able to run at 60. But even as of now, it runs better. Games like Contra. Contra looked ugly on every platform. So if you're saying this game looks ugly now, Grim, it looks ugly everywhere. It looks worse on Switch, admittedly, but it looks ugly everywhere. That game looks surprisingly, I know you're like, this looks better. Yes, it does. It actually looks better than significantly better, which is still sad because if you can see on the screen, it looks horrible, but it looks significantly better. And I only know that because I played it on the Switch 1 on the TV and it looked bad and it runs smoother. It doesn't dip at all anymore. So now it actually runs good. Games like Bloodstained Ritual, which is a game that I wanted to play and get into, but I bought it on Switch 1. It ran bad and I just never bought it anywhere else. Now it runs good and it looks a little bit better than it did before. It always looked fine, but it always kind of looked blurry. It still looks blurry, but it looks a lot less blurry. And that just goes on and on and on. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 portably looked horrible. Now it looks way better, runs a lot smoother. And that's just how the Switch 2 works. Across the board, anything you throw at it will look and run better unless it kind of already looked great to begin with. For example, Mario 3D World, Mario Odyssey, those got updates for better visuals. I'm assuming it makes the native resolution go up. And I've seen videos of people zooming in extra close to the screen to show that yes, it does look significantly better. That's cool, but I'm gonna tell you, as someone who sits, at a healthy distance from their television, yeah, I see the difference. It is there, but it's not like a mind blowing difference because I'm not zoomed in on my screen like a madman. Like no one does that, and I know people do that for analysis purposes. But for the average person, you're looking for what you're going to see. So if you pop in these games that you heard got visual updates and you're like, I don't really notice a big difference, it's there. It's just you're not going to notice it because you're not pressed against the screen with your eyeballs glued to it. You're probably sitting at feet away like you're supposed to, so you're not going to really notice it that much. But it is there. Any game that increases the frame rate, though, whether that means the frame rate was unlocked from the beginning, so now it runs at 60 or higher, or you have situations where the game just was unstable at 30 or whatever frame rate it was, and now it's going to run at a steady frame rate. Echoes of Wisdom is an example of this. That game runs buttery smooth. I can spawn in a bunch of enemies now. It doesn't lag. It doesn't stutter. It runs amazingly. So one of the main benefits of a Switch 2 is that you're getting a significant increase to all Switch 1 games for the most part. The only time you're not going to see any change at all is if a game had a cap frame rate. It already ran smooth at that frame rate, and there's no update for the visuals. You'll still get upscaling, and you'll still get, let's say, if a game may have dipped here or there, it won't dip at all anymore. But that stuff you probably won't notice because it's an unnoticeable change outside of the upscaling feature. And all games can support HDR. I typically don't play in HDR, just not my thing, but that is also available as well. So you are getting a benefit across the board. And seeing as a lot of Switch 1 games just did not run the best, unless they were Nintendo games, and even some of them didn't run that great, you're just getting so much more out of your Switch 2. I do not own Zelda Hyrule Warriors or the Age of Calamity, whatever it's called. I don't own that because I always wanted to buy it, but that game ran bad. But you can play the demo. And just playing the demo off the Switch 2, it runs at a practically a locked frame rate now and runs smooth. I'm going to buy that game now to prepare myself for the sequel that's planned for the Switch 2. So you're getting a lot out of the Switch 2 now with games that you may have skipped because you felt like, man, it ran so poorly. Now they don't run bad at all. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is a game that I love on the Switch 2, but it ran bad. It doesn't run bad at all anymore. You could do whatever you want. It just runs perfectly fine. So that is something that you benefit from the Switch 2. Even games that don't have a proper update, if they had any stuttering, any slight lag, any frame rate dips, they will be eliminated on Switch 2. Unless those games were just kind of like hard capped to not move, which is that's not normal. So you will get a benefit out of the majority of your library of games. So that is a good thing. Now, when it comes to, let's say, the eShop runs way better. They still have a bunch of AI junk on there, which I wish that you could filter out, but that's a whole separate story. It runs a lot better. It's a lot sleeker. When you hover over icons, it plays like videos now, not just, going through different screenshots. It does that too. And I think the eShop is way more organized. It runs better, and hopefully it stays that way. As the store gets bigger and bigger and bigger, we shall see how well it runs. But it runs perfectly fine. I now will look at the eShop. I can now safely look and shop on the eShop without having to specifically know what game I want and just type it in and go into it. Because before, when I first had my Switch 1, early on, you could browse the eShop and it was slow, but it wouldn't crash or it wouldn't lag like that. It was just kind of slow in comparison to other stores. After so many years, it would lag, it would crash. So I would only look on the eShop to like specifically type in a game and go directly to it just to see if it was like on sale or what's going on with it. But now I can browse the store and I don't have to worry about it crashing on me. So that's a good thing. Oh yes, there's something also I want to bring up too. There's something I kind of forgot. I want to go back to the Joy-Cons real quick. I feel Nintendo should have added some things to the Switch 2 in the box. For example, the mouse controls. That's something I forgot to mention with the Joy-Cons. I don't have any game that supports that, but you can use it on the main menu screen, and it does just work. I was laying in bed and I could just put it on the bed and it works, and it works perfectly fine. The mouse clips work just as they're advertised. It is very interesting. Can't wait to see how that works with games. I might buy Cyberpunk for the Switch 2 and do a review on that and test that out and use the mouse controls there. We shall see. But so far, the mouse controls work, at least on the main menu. It just works as advertised. I think it's pretty cool. When it comes to what I think should have been added in the box, though, is that I tried out ARMS. ARMS is one of my favorite games from Switch 1, and they got an update for better visuals and stable frame rate. But one, I noticed that ARMS, it could be in my imagination. It's been a long time since I played ARMS. I feel that the Switch 2 Joy-Cons might be more detailed in their motion sensitivity. I have to test that out, but that's what I feel because I don't recall ever playing ARMS and having like even the slightest movement causing my character to move forward. I tried to mess with sensitivities and all that, and it seemed to not change anything. It just felt to me like it was overly sensitive, and that just could be because maybe the Switch 2 Joy-Cons are just more detailed in their sensitivity. Maybe they're just better motion control devices, so that's why it works that way. Hopefully, if that's the case, they just have to update ARMS and basically all their motion games for them to work. But my biggest issue is that ARMS was a game that if you use the motion, you were told to use the grips that came with the Joy-Con 1 that basically turned the Joy-Cons into like an oval shape. Those don't exist for Switch 2. They don't come in the box. I don't know anyone that's making them. I don't know if Nintendo makes them. And those games kind of need that. Because without those there, holding the Joy-Cons do not feel well. Like using the mouse clips don't do anything because it doesn't give you the extra extension on the buttons and it doesn't make this controller feel more rounded. They need to sell those. Well, it's sad that I'm telling them to sell plastic because that's what it is. But they need to make those and put those in the box, or they're probably not going to give them out for free, but they need to do something where those are now available for us. Third party might come out with them or something, but those should have been included in the box. Another thing I think Nintendo should have included in the box, I'm going to be honest, you guys might say this is a stretch, but $450 for a Switch 2, they should have gave us the Joy-Con grip with a chargeable port on it, because I'm going to tell you why. The Joy-Cons, playing them, I play everything with the Joy-Cons. I did not use my Pro Controller. I do not have a Pro Controller 2. I have the original Pro Controller, and that in itself is a slap in the face. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna tell you that in a second why. When it comes to the Joy-Cons, playing them like in the grip, it's fine. Even with my big hands, it works fine, but you can't charge the controllers that way. So you'll have to eventually put them on the Switch while it's docked and charge it that way. And I will say that I thought it would have been annoying putting the Joy-Cons on the Switch while docked, because before, the way my setup is, my Switch sits below me, obviously. So I'm standing up and I could just from the top push them down and they click in. Putting them in from the side, you have to kind of bend down a little bit further, but because the magnets are so strong, you could feel the magnetization almost guiding you to where you need to go, and it just works. So it's not that big of a deal, but having to go to the Switch and unclipping them and all that stuff just to charge them when you could have just gave me a grip that allows me to charge it would have been nice. I'm pretty sure they sell one. I have to look online, but I think that actually sucks. I think that what should come in the box is everything you need. Something to be able to play your system. This is a system that is a hybrid. It's supposed to be able to be played docked and portably. I think Nintendo should have gave you everything you needed included in the price to allow you to charge this controller while playing docked. That's my personal opinion, and that's how I feel about it. If you don't agree, that's cool. Let me know in the comment section. Now, when it comes to the Pro Controller, what's the problem? Not Pro Controller 2, because the Pro Controller 2 is fine. The original Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. And I don't know if every other Nintendo controller is affected by this. I don't know if every other third-party controller is affected by this. But I was wondering, how come when I was using my Pro Controller, it would never wake my Switch 2 up? It just wouldn't do it. I thought maybe it was still connected to the Switch 1, something was going on. So I looked online and I figured it out. People online are reporting this because apparently whatever the signal is to the Switch 2 has a different signal. So it doesn't wake up. The Switch 1 controller cannot wake up a Switch 2. No controller that could wake up a Switch 1 could wake up a Switch 2 according to what people are saying online. I don't have any other controller to confirm that. But if that's the case, I wonder, is the new GameCube controller that they just dropped, does that not wake up a Switch 2 either? Because that is horrible. That's one of the benefits of a wireless controller, to be able to wake up your system. So yes, you can use any controller, basically any controller from the Switch 1, but it won't wake up your console. So now I have to get up to go turn the system on. Or I have to make sure my Joy-Cons are always charged. It's a very big inconvenient thing. I do not like this. So that basically means as of now, until third party makes a controller, or maybe Nintendo can send up an update that fixes it, you have to go buy essentially a $80 to $90 controller, the Switch 2 Pro controller, just to be able to wake up. Because people who have the Switch 2 Pro controller, the reason I haven't bought it is because they're saying, yo, essentially this is just a slightly better version of the Switch 1 Pro controller. It has extra buttons and it feels a little bit better in the hands, but it's really not that big of a deal. And people are even saying, like, diehard Nintendo fans who typically just support anything Nintendo does are saying, like, if you got the Switch 1 Pro controller and it works fine, your sticks are fine and your buttons are fine, just play with that. But no, now it's like you really can't, because it is one minor, it seems like a minor inconvenience. It's a big inconvenience for a lot of people depending upon your setup. If your Switch 2 is sitting right next to you all the time, then it wouldn't matter if it's docked right next to you. Just press the home button, the power button, and then you can activate it that way. But no, it should be a way for me to be able to use all the features of my Pro Controller 1, since it's advertised all those controllers will work with the Switch 2. And Nintendo could have made it that way. That's another thing. People will argue with you that as if Nintendo just didn't know this was a problem and couldn't have fixed it. Nintendo knew that this was an issue. And they probably said, from a marketing standpoint, or a business standpoint rather, it is beneficial to give the player a reason, like a real reason outside of just wanting it, to buy our new controller. What's okay, you can't now use the home button. That's why you use it. It's the same reason why, look, go back to the PlayStation 3. when Sony announced that you can use like certain controllers on the PS3, they made like any other controller that wasn't a PS3 controller, the home button wouldn't work. You could use them wirelessly, you can use them wired, but the home button won't work. And if you know anything about the PS3, you kind of need that home button to work, or it's the system basically just doesn't do many things. You have to basically turn the system on and off again just to get back to the main menu. The Switch 2 isn't that bad, but it's like, come on, like that should be a feature. I should be able to wake up my Switch 2 with my Switch 1 Pro controller. It should work. I wonder if the Switch 1, I haven't even tried my Switch 1 Joy-Cons. Can that wake the system up? I hope so. We shall see, but this is, to me, an issue. Now, let's talk about physical media. Listen, we just got word that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 Plus 4, a game that I think would be perfect for Switch 2. That's not even going to be a key card. That's going to be a game code in a box, what I actually prefer. I already talked about this, guys. I think that the game key card issue is going to be a major problem. As someone who already, I don't have an SD card for my Switch 2. Just downloading like maybe half of my Switch 1 games I own digitally, and including the physical games that have patches and updates or DLC tied to them, I got like 39 gigabytes left out of my 250 some odd gigs of memory. So you're going to need an SD card for the Switch 2. It's just inevitable because it seems like Nintendo themselves are going to stick to physical media, but that's just them. Third party is going to be wishy-washy, and I'm the type of gamer that plays all games. So I'm going to play majority of the games on any system, which is going to be third party. So the Switch 2, I'm going to be honest with you, man, unless things change, this is a digital only system. I'm going to just be real with you. Like, the only reason why you would buy game key cards is if you like trading in stuff. So I think for someone like me that's a big proponent of physical media is damn near dead on Switch 2, and that's sad. That's sad unless Nintendo over time changes how physical media works. Third-party developers just say, you know what, we're going to charge you extra on Switch 2. That's the only way I can see it happening, but that's probably never going to happen because they're not going to charge extra on Switch 2, and then it's cheaper on the PS5 and Xbox. That's never going to happen. So then they might charge extra everywhere. That'd be horrible. So who knows what's going to happen? But as of now, the Switch 2 is a digital-only system, and that's sad for me. I will be supporting Cyberpunk on Switch 2 physically, but other than that, everything, I'm not buying game key cards. The only reason I will buy a game key card is just to report back how they work to you all, but there are plenty of other channels already covering it. I don't think I have to do that myself. So for any physical media supporters, gamers, it is sad that Nintendo, out of all people, I expected this from Xbox, but Nintendo, they kind of got us in a bad space, and that's unfortunate. So let's answer the question. Should you buy a Switch 2 right now if you can even find one? The answer is, it depends. If you are someone who did not own a Switch 1 at all, you didn't play any of the Switch 1 games, especially Nintendo's exclusives, or even if you're like me, who is someone who has plenty of them, but it's so many of them that I haven't bought most of them that I want, and they're going to 9 times out of 10, even without a patch given out, run better on Switch 2, and Nintendo makes high quality games. So just off the Switch 1 library alone, especially if you never had a Switch 1, heck yeah, you should buy a Switch 2 if you can afford it, because obviously you could just play it on Switch 1, especially if you're playing Nintendo's games only. Most of those games ran perfectly fine, but they will run a lot better on Switch 2. Switch 2 is worth buying for that reason. What about Switch 2 only experiences? Well, as of now, it's not many of that. I would say wait till the end of the year or maybe next year, because Mario Kart World is a good game, but unless you really love Mario Kart and you want to play online with that for years, there are people who only play Mario Kart, then of course buy it. But you might want to wait for Donkey Kong, which is coming out next month. Might want to wait for Metroid. Might want to wait for Pokemon and other games like that. There are going to be some Switch 1 games getting re-released with extra content. Maybe wait on those. So I would say wait, because as of now, unless you are a Nintendo-only gamer, because think about it, if you're a Nintendo-only gamer, you didn't play Yakuza 0. You didn't play Cyberpunk. You didn't play, I forgot the name of the Capcom game. It's like a tower defense game with a samurai. That game is on the Switch 2 digitally. You didn't play those games. So, of course, for you, that would be something new. But for someone like me who had access to those games, it's not necessarily something special because I could always play those games, and some of them I already played on my previous consoles that I own. So it just depends on who you are. If you're someone who wants to play portably and you feel like the Switch 1 has ran its course, it's not enough for you and power wise, of course buy Switch 2. It is going to be great for you. The only thing I will say, is there a reason not to buy Switch 2? Yes, if it's too expensive, obviously don't buy it right now. I don't know if it'll ever go on sale, but at least you could wait until there's a big enough library of games where you could say, okay, at least now I'm coming in with a game plan of maybe 5 to 10 games that I know I want, and I can get it that way. If you're someone that care about physical media and you will not break on that, you want physical media, that is what you want, then no, don't buy Switch 2. And probably ever, basically, and that's sad, but probably ever don't buy a Switch 2 because you're gonna have to buy stuff digitally, and if you buy a GameCube card, you're essentially buying digitally anyway. But that's it on the Switch 2. That's everything I could think of, everything I wanted to cover. The Switch 2 is a premium system. The Switch 2 would have been damn near perfect if we didn't have to deal with the physical media issues, and if Nintendo would ever fix the damn Joy-Cons. And they will allow me to use the freaking home button on my Pro Controller 1. But as of now, the Switch 2, it gets my recommendation. I still stand by everything I say when it comes to why you shouldn't get one, or if these things are problems for you, you should just wait. But I, as a content creator and just someone who loves video games, I like what I got. I like what I purchased. It is a good system. It is a good system just from a hardware standpoint. It has been years since I felt like Nintendo dropped some premium hardware. They've always dropped unique hardware. I didn't feel the Wii was premium. I just felt the Wii was unique. I didn't feel the Wii U was premium. I just thought it was unique. And I didn't think the Switch 1 was premium. I just thought it was unique. This feels like a high-end, portable, gaming tablet hybrid. I know, so the Steam Deck is more powerful. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't own one of those. But I know what this feels like. And this feels like it's worth $450. That is one thing I will say. Like, people say the tariff prices are added into it. Might be. But guess what? Even if the tariff price is added into it, it still feels like it's worth $450. Now, if one day they drop to $300, that's just a steal. Like, people in Japan getting it for $300, you're just getting a deal. Like, that's amazing. But for $450, which is $50 less than the PS5, I feel like I feel like it's kind of still worth the money. It's that good. It's that good. It's that good. I like it. I enjoy it. It is what it is. Switch 2. Let me know if you're going to get one in the comment section. Let me know if you already have one. What games should I get? What games do you recommend I try and play on the channel? Of course, I'm still covering games from all my other platforms as well. And there's plenty of Switch games that I never covered on this channel that I can cover. So, and I will definitely include how it performs on Switch 2, because going forward, unless the Switch 1 game just doesn't work on Switch 2 yet, which is true, some games do not work as of yet. They're still working on full backwards compatibility. But most games do work. Unless it doesn't work on Switch 2, I will cover it on Switch 2 and tell you how much better it is on that platform. But anyway, you guys have a great day. God bless. Keep gaming. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about what I should play next. What should I cover? If you have Cyberpunk for Switch 2, just let me know. Don't spoil it for me, because I never even played Cyberpunk outside of a little bit. Let me know. Should I just go ahead and get it there or not? Peace out. Keep gaming.